This story is created by Salagir and illustrated by Asura, and is part of an ongoing series. Catch up fully using the links below.
After Vegeta's victory over Perfect Cell, a Varga in a chef's uniform comes angrily stomping out during the intermission. Goku stares back at him with a giant smile on his face, asking if he's here to take their order. But with a not-so-excited not smile, he grumpily shouts, "No!" revealing the entire culinary staff to be behind him. They refuse to take any more orders from universes with Saiyans. They're on strike. While Grandpa and Granddaughter express the exact same look on their faces, Goten and Trunks can't help but bellow out with laughter and mock the situation, chuckling comments like, "And so our heroes were vanquished! The whole universe would fall to the dominions of the cooks!" Gohan steps over to the man and suggests there's surely an arrangement they can come to. What can they do to help? And smirking for the first time, "Help," he says. Yes. If they work for them in the kitchen, they can have their meal. While all the others optimistically stand to go help in the kitchen, Brawl looks towards her father to see where he stands on all of this. But he only mutters he's not hungry. While this could be interpreted as his pride won't allow him to help assist with the next meal, it could also lead us to wonder if one of those beans in his glove was actually a senzu after all. Although this particular effect hasn't been highlighted in quite a while in the series, they also provide 10 days worth of food to whoever eats one. Either way, Goku calls out for Chi-Chi to come and help, when his son stops him to insist they not bother her with this one. It's time to grow up. It's time to learn how to use a microwave. The chef marches his new workers back to the kitchen to begin the prep work. But Piccolo is still stuck on an image from before he can't unsee. Vargas have teeth? Inside, one directs Gohan to chop up these carrots. But don't they have a machine for that? The Birdman chides the faster he starts, and finished already. The Saiyan asks what's next. Nearby, another tells Kakarot to take this piece of beef and bring it to when he takes a bite out of it. Being more or less frozen solid, the cook scolds that he needs to defrost it first. However, the brood is content enough with it as it is. Roasting a whole fish over an open fire, Goku boasts to his youngest son that he can cook too, prompting Goten to take back what he said before. But after trying a bit, Goku can cook for Goku, as he has the low standards as his primitive self from Universe 13. He knows Chi-Chi is a much better cook than himself though. He questions his father why he didn't think to use any salt or spices. Meanwhile, the pants toss what appears to be pasta and potatoes into a giant pot. An annoyed Varga comments how this is actually their jacuzzi. They had to adapt to accommodate the Saiyans. Away, Emperor Vegeta barges into a room demanding to know where Raditz is. Looking around, it's the room he was in moments ago, but now only the humans remain. The former shouts he knows he came to see them. Undeterred, Krillin merely states they sent him on his way. Observant, he inquires the whereabouts of that, quote, crumpled god. Videl simply scoffs she's not his mother, so she doesn't know. While Yamcha makes a mad dash to point out, Vegeta here's worried the old KAIOSHIN is going to give his friend magical powers without him. Outside the arena, in the background, Vegito asks his universe's Piccolo if they have any more senzus, but unfortunately they're clean out. Apparently, neither he or son Brawl want to eat either. He figures at least himself can go on for a few more days without any, again pointing towards their caloric properties. In the foreground, it seems something very serious is on Oob's mind. Passing the version of himself we refer to as Zenbu. He moves to enter a random apartment. Calmly swinging open the door, he beckons if he can make him the greatest magician of all time. Revealing the aforementioned Buu, who sits comfortably in an armchair. He smugly quips he can make him the greatest magician after himself. Maybe, but to do that, he has a lot of things he must teach him. Fixing his mustache to the situation, Executive Chef Nappa showcases his masterful bacon wrapped potato. This way they can pass it off for a big piece of meat. But they already have. Then Trunks shows off his scientific prowess. He built a machine that creates edible meat. Gazing at it, the Varga can only stare bewildered if that's petrol or gasoline in the beaker. Don't throw fireballs in the oil! Stepping out of the kitchen, Goku goes to address Piccolo. He wants to know if he can remake their clothes. As Brawl holds her sides in laughter and Vegeta can only smile on at the gang's incompetence. One of the organizers thinks they can get back to it without the Saiyans' help. But with no further delay, C of Universe 5 and Buu of Universe 4 begins now. With his opponent already in the ring, he knows Vegito previously gave this magician a second of respite. He himself won't allow as much. Disintegrating the wizard. Is that it? He won just like that? As an ominous incantation echoes through the arena, our heroes look around wondering who just said that. As Buu is sealed within his cocoon, just like his original reveal from the series. But Bobbity isn't here, so who unleashed that spell? Technically, that would be outside help, wouldn't it? With C destroyed and Buu incapacitated, the announcer questions if neither manages to move within 30 seconds. Did they both lose? Because right now, she's not sure either are gonna get up before the other, when her other tells her to look. Presenting a gaseous embodiment, C states fighters are allowed to change form. Others have done it. He himself is conscious and Buu is not. He has won. And that's correct. With the 30 count reaching its end, victory goes to C. But hold on! Vegito wants to know how he uttered those magic words. The wizard argues he himself did. He had it set to launch automatically at the start of the fight, seeming to be some sort of latency ability. This then brings the fused warrior, likely still salty from his own loss, to beckon how he knows that spell. But C rebukes he doesn't have to answer that. Gang gathers amongst each other and talks about how fishy all this is. Buu was so easily defeated. This guy seems to know everyone's weakness. At the cocoon, one of the Vargas figures they better move this thing before the next fight. When she notices the meter, the arrow points in the 1 o'clock position.
Wait! We need to send Buu back to his universe immediately and arrest the Grand KAIOSHIN!
South Kaio is strangely quick to agree. Scowling, he knew it! He tells them not to move. They will listen to what he has to say. Gas continues. He explains the Grand KAIOSHIN is in league with Buu of Universe 4. He never held him prisoner in his hand. He knows this because when Buu turned into a cocoon, he saw hundreds of Buu particles rejoin his body. They came from the public, the arena, and the corridor of Universe 4. Since the beginning, he's been moving around freely among them all. That's when the dots finally connect for Goku. He saw a bunch of little things fly into the cocoon too, but didn't know what they were. How strange. Goten shorts, and you never thought to tell us before? Westkai can tell Gast isn't lying. She pleads with the Grand Supreme to explain himself. Without mincing words, he admits that everything he has said is true. He indeed lied when he claimed he could copy Gast's technique. He did that to free Buu, and he is also correct that he is in league with them. But how could they even begin to understand? As soon as Buu arrived, they started communicating via telepathy. He thanked the KAIOSHIN for being the reason he is no longer a force of only blind hatred and violence. He was very honest with them from the get-go. Buu explained how in his universe, the Grand Supreme Kai sacrificed himself to save him, even though he was the enemy. They exchanged words, but also images and emotions in an accelerated manner. Over the last few days, they've exchanged the equivalent of millions of years of communication. They discussed things as tiny as a microorganism, things as big as dictating why the universe is ran the way it is, the essence of free will being the primary factor. The deity reveals Buu is infinitely more intelligent and interesting than anyone or anything he has ever known. He started admiring him. They became friends, then accomplices, and he understood that the KAIOSHINs aren't and weren't obliged to intervene as much as they have. The universe left to itself is indeed chaotic, but it's splendid. The one they have modeled in their own image, by murdering beings they didn't agree with, is bleak. Buu influenced them, that much is certain. He accepted every participant, including Broly and Tubus, who are anomalies against which they normally fight. Gast and Vegito also became anomalies, but because they are known to be good-hearted, they are the ones who are allowed to live? It's their subjective notions of good and bad that decide? Yes, Buu changed them. Yes, he's surprised at what he's become. But he himself also has a much larger vision than any of them. There's good in renewal of chaos. They can let go. And it's even more true now that they know there's an infinite number of universes. If something goes tragically wrong in billions of them, it can go differently in billions of others. Influencing one single universe is moot. Finally having enough of this nihilistic philosophy, South Kaio finally butts in. To sum it up, the Grand Supreme Kai has become completely corrupted. He himself is deposing him of his rank and title immediately. Half the participants here could endanger the entire multiverse, and they now know it's because he allowed this to happen because he's a servant of chaos. However, the accused has a rebuttal. He argues there is no danger, or never was. Buu could stop Broly at any time, and the same is true for any of the other participants. Wes sarcastically chimes back that she sees now. That's why he prevented Broly from attacking the participants, and Babidi from corrupting and attacking the entire audience. Though, he only sees that each time, all was well in the end. Didn't he end up fixing everything after? The final KAIOSHIN turns on their superior as well, not liking the idea of putting their destinies in the hands of a psychopath. As we glance back to the meter on the cocoon, it's now shown to have moved all the way to the 9 o'clock position. Whether oblivious to this or not, the KAIOSHIN insists they do not understand. They don't have a choice. Buu has been in control of everything for a while now. He's superior to them all. Fighting him is useless and a wasteful action in advance. He's an omnipotent entity. They can only try to comprehend him and live best with his decisions. Varga takes that as her cue to cheerfully chortle. It doesn't seem like he's in control right now. So bye-bye, Buu. But instead of sending him back to his own universe, nothing happens, prompting GSK to awkwardly point out that he controls that machine too. Flustered, she figures she can just stick him in the ship and get him out of here the old-fashioned way, asking a nearby Namekian if he can lift this thing, which he's happy to do. Though the Kai assures all of this is pointless. And I'm back. Of course I overcame my only weakness. Okay, I was a little slow, and I've lost my fight, but... Oh, you figured out I manipulated everyone and everything. Again. With the cat out of the bag, Buu figures it's official now. He tells them not to worry. He won't be changing anything in this tournament, but he's going back to what he said before. He's opening a secondary tournament in parallel to this one. All of the God-tier fighters are obliged to participate, mentioning that even includes Gohan specifically. They'll make pools of 4 to enter the semifinals, and he'll dish out upgrades to anyone who wants, regardless of their level. But dumb entrapment techniques are completely banned. South Kai screams that this is out of the question. This tournament is canceled and everyone is going home. Now. You're not the one who decides. When will you learn? Vegito admits it's true they've gotten through each round pretty easily up until now, at least in terms of fighting technique and power. It'd be a pity to cancel this situation and not enjoy it. Buu accepted his defeat in the main event, so he's a good sport. They could fight in a side event. Who's it going to bother? But Gohan isn't so convinced easy would be a great word to describe all this. Goku agrees with his fused counterpart. Besides, he wants to fight against Vegito, as Goten believes his father would not win. Back to Gohan. He thinks the KAIOSHINs are right. They need to stop Buu. The tournament is not as important. Trunks adding, Buu doesn't know him as well as he thinks he does. They won't just allow him to decide for him. Son Brawl gets in on the objection too, rightfully having the most reason to be furious. This creature has been enjoying watching them being tortured, and now he's done playing with them. She appeals to her father that if they let him be, he will have control over every universe, theirs included. And either surprised at the hostile response, or not even having thought of the thing Brawl just said. Seriously. Well then. All of you, have at me! It seems I need to teach you a lesson. As the Grand Supreme Kai laments, it always seems to have to end like this. South can only grit his teeth that a superior would even dare make such a comment. With Buu breaking off into dozens of clones, how will our heroes handle this most recent obstacle? How can they hope to defeat an enemy with such inconceivable power?